What you doing, Diggletdreamers? You got Mathers back with more Vitality Draft League. This is Week 6 versus the Seattle Scarfers, coached by Mon43, as you can see right here. And as you can also see right here, he's got a very, very scary team. I mean, look at these things. He's got the fish right here, which was super tough for my team because I don't have a water immunity on my team. I have Swampert, which isn't even really a water resist, and then Glycopod is probably my best water resist, aside from like Rillaboom. It could also be a water resist too, I guess. And then he's also got Superior, super fast Pokemon with access to things like Glare and, you know, Contrary Leaf Storm, also a thing. Mega Beedrill is on his team, one of the fastest Pokemon in the game, super strong offensively. And then Tapu Lele with the Psychic Surge prevents a lot of my priority users from doing their thing, and also just super strong Pokemon on its own. So super scary team. I had to prepare a lot. I had to prep a lot is what I mixed that up with. So my Glycopod has almost max defense, I think, maybe, but it has a lot of defense investment to be able to take Vicious Wrens at less than 50%. I've also got Superior, I've got what's his name? Scizor. It has Swords Dance, because if I'm able to get rid of the Psychic Terrain, Scizor actually does put in a lot of work versus his team with Superior and Beedrill, and he did bring a lot of Pokemon to resist the Steel moves in this battle, but the rest of his team, trust me, it could have been really good. I had Brutal Swing here, which is a 60 base power dark move that gets boosted by Technician. That would let me hit things like Runerigus. He also had a Rotom, regular Rotom, I mean, so it would actually be super effective versus it. And then I have Hydreigon here, which is Darkinium Z with Sub Nasty Plot, and then Dragon Pulse, Dark Pulse. So throughout his team, Dark and Dragon is actually pretty good, hits most of his team. Obviously, it's things like the Runerigus, and then Dragon Pulse. I found that at +2, I think even not at +2, a Dragon Pulse would knock out a Dracovish, which is pretty cool. So I definitely wanted to bring Hydreigon here. Crobat is basically here. I put in enough speed to outspeed what is this thing? Superior. Enough speed to outspeed Superior. Obviously would not be able to outspeed Mega Beedrill, but can definitely outspeed Superior, and the rest is dumped into like bulk and defense to be able to switch in pretty well to the Beedrill, which actually is pretty cool, being resisting its poison and bug moves, and then, you know, obviously the non-adaptability moves aren't as strong, but it doesn't get that many coverage moves, you know, like Drill Run or Knockoff or things that it runs. So Crobat's actually a pretty good switch into Beedrill, which is nice. We got Frostlass here because I just wanted to get up a couple spikes, because if I can like get a little bit of chip damage on things, that paves the way for things like Hydreigon, priority Bullet Punch Scizor, and maybe even like a first impression from Glycopod to be able to put in a lot of work. And then I've got Scarf Blaziken. It's not max speed, it's a little bit less speed, because I found that with max speed, I think a regular Beedrill would outspeed even max speed Scarf. So I think I just have enough to outspeed other things on his team and things that could potentially be Scarf. So it's a pretty interesting team. A lot of weird things I had to fit onto the team just to be able to play around this thing right here. I think I even had enough defense investment on my Scizor to be able to take like one hit from this or something. But another important thing to consider when going up against Dracovish is having the speed, because if it isn't outspeeding you with its Vicious Rend, it's not going to do nearly as much damage, because a large part of the boost for Vicious Rend is that it goes first. So it's an important part to consider. So anyway, let's get into this battle. Let me put it on slow and let's go. So I led with Frostlass because I wanted to, you know, just get up my spikes as soon as I can, as he led with the Muck. So I was like, you know what, let me just Will-O-Wisp this thing. And that ended up being pretty cool. The knockoff obviously doing a lot, but not even to a KOing me. And then he gets the, okay, so like, just look at this. You see that wall of text? So I Will-O-Wisp, he burn, he knocks off, super effective. and then poison touches me, and then I curse body him to disable the knockoff, and it also knocks off my heavy duty boots. So a lot just went on in that first turn. We both got statused. I disabled one of his moves, and he knocked off my item. So crazy stuff. But now that he's knocked off, I was like, you know what? Let me switch into my steel type on the poison move. So I do indeed, and he actually reveals the fire punch. So thankfully, because he's burned, it's not doing that much, but still, that's a lot more damage than I was hoping to take with my scissor. And now he's doubling into his Runerigus as I U-turn out. I thought about going for a Swords Dance, but I didn't. I figured he would just fire punch again. But that does give me, since I U-turn there, it does give me a pretty safe switch into my Hydreigon. I just go right for the Dark Pulse here, trying to catch this Runerigus, but of course Muck comes back out and is able to take the Dark Pulse quite well. But I'm like, hey, this thing's burned. Let me just set up a substitute. What can it do to me? As it does go for the knockoff, and a critical hit isn't even enough to break the sub. So I'm sitting pretty. I decided to get my Nasty Plot up, as he actually stays in, and here he reveals the Brick Break, which I was like, oh man, of course, he's got to have the coverage. But I'm like, alright, let me see how much, maybe I can knock him out. I don't do enough with Dragon Pulse, but then he goes for the Brick Break, and I realize, oh, I can actually get another substitute off, because he's only doing 21% with Brick Break. So I get my substitute, he goes for another Brick Break, which does not break it. It could have been a crazy roll or something. But that basically puts me in a good position where I can knock out this Muck with a Dragon Pulse, and I'm behind a sub at +2. Super, super good position versus his team. Goes into Tapu Lele, which is super scary. I had a lot of thoughts here. Obviously, I have a substitute, so I know I'm safe to at least attack once. The question here for me was, do I go for the Dark Pulse at +2, or do I go for my Darkinium Z? And after a little consideration, I was like, what else on his team am I going to Darkinium Z versus? The Serperior's probably not going to, like, nothing on his team will tank a +2 hit that isn't a Z move. So literally the only thing that I want to hit with the Z move is this Tapu Lele. And it was the only way that I guaranteed KO at +2, I think. If I had just Dark Pulsed, it had a pretty good chance to KO at the calcs that I was looking at, but I realized later on that I was looking at the standard Hydreigon set, which is a Life Orb. So it made a big difference. So I decided to go for the Darkinium Z, as he is revealed to be Scarfed. Moonblast knocks out my sub, but I have the Z move, so I get rid of him, which is pretty huge for the rest of this battle, because that means he's only got 5 turns left of the Psychic Terrain, and then my Bullet Punch, my First Impression, I actually also have Sucker Punch on this thing, are going to be much better versus the rest of his team. Obviously the Beedrill is going to be like outspeeding everything on my team, so I really do want to have that priority to help deal with it. And I'm still here with +2, but of course the Beedrill is going to come out, no question. So I'm like, hey, I have Crobat to switch into this thing, let me save my Hydreigon, because Hydreigon still takes out the Runerigus and the Dracovish if it gets a chance. So I take the Poison Jab pretty well there, I get my Black Sludge recovery, and he switches out as I decide to just go for the Roost. I want to keep myself at a good amount of HP, because he was doing 40% with Poison Jab, so basically all he needs is a little bit of chip on my Crobat, and then the Beedrill will be able to a KO with Poison Jab. So I don't want that to happen. I want to keep my Crobat healthy. I want to keep it as a good switch in. So I Roost there, and I switch out into my my Golisopod here, knowing that I can tank at least one. And unfortunately the Psychic Terrain is still up here, so I can't get a First Impression off. But basically I just wanted to come in here and see what kind of Dracovish am I dealing with. Maybe he's Banded, maybe he's Scarf, I don't know. I don't have enough speed to actually outspeed this thing, even if he's not Scarf, so it doesn't give me a lot of information. But what I do learn here is that he goes for the Body Slam here to emergency exit me, going for the Paralysis, I'm guessing. But that shows to me that he is not choiced. He's not choice Bandit, he's not choice Scarf, which is pretty important information. Interesting thing there, I mean, obviously he must have wanted to try to get the Paralysis on me, but I think if he had gone for another Fish's Wren there, it would have kept my Glyspot at a much lower HP, which might come into play later. But now that I know he's not like scarfed or anything, I can go into my Hydreigon, and I'm pretty confident that a Dragon Pulse should knock this out. So I go for the Dragon Pulse as the Psychic Terrain also ends, which is nice. And so he doubles into his Superior, obviously fearing the attack from my Hydreigon. Oh my god, I can't speak. And I'm like, hey, I don't want to get glared, so I'm going to switch out. I know this thing would outspeed my Hydreigon, no question about it. As he does reveal the glare there as I go into my Scizor, I was like, okay, Hidden Power Fire is a thing, but out of all the Pokemon that I have here, I'd rather take the chance for this to get paralyzed, and maybe take the chance of like a Leaf Storm or a Dragon Pulse coming out too. So I get paralyzed there, unfortunate, as I do get paralyzed fully here. You know what, I can still go over the Bullet Punch. I go for it again, I get fully paralyzed again, and the U-turn here does a pretty good chunk. So very unfortunate that Scizor doesn't really get to put in the damage here that it could have done. Like, he could have done a lot to the Superior, if not knock it out, and then probably at least like 50 or more to the Beedrill with Bullet Punch too. So, well, obviously, wait, he switched out immediately. Yeah, so if I hadn't gotten paralyzed there, I probably would have been able to knock out the Beedrill, which would have been pretty nice for the team, especially since with the Beedrill gone, a good amount of my teammates, what am I saying? Good amount of my team members can deal with these Pokemon. Like, I can First Impression the Superior, my Crobat outspeeds it, I can just Brave Bird, and then even if the Dracovish is outspeeding and a couple things, I have enough like powerful hits. Like, I can Brave Bird, I can First Impression, Sucker Punch, I can Close Combat with Blaziken to outspeed and basically rack up too much damage for the Dracovish to be able to stay alive. So I would have been in a really good position, but unfortunately I got paralyzed. So here I was like, okay, I know he's not choiced, so what kind of item could he possibly be? And that's when I thought of Assault Vest. Could he have been Assault Vest? It actually seems like it could be a really cool set for Dracovish, because you're strong enough in attack and you don't really want to run anything other than attacks. So getting the adding on to, like, you know, Water Dragon typing, super good bulk. Assault Vest makes it really cool. So I was like, okay, if he's Assault Vest, that is how he lives a Dragon Pulse from me. So I was like, if I can get just a little bit of chip on this thing, if I can get, I think it was like 12% or something around that, then even an Assault Vest one will go down to a Dragon Pulse. So that was my thought process, and I was like, let me get a Bullet Punch. Bullet Punch does actually do enough chip to the point where a Dragon Pulse would then knock it out, so I did it. And he knocks me out, and then actually reveals here that he has leftovers. So I was like, oh, okay, so he's not Assault Vest, so that means Dragon Pulse is going to knock this out. So I go into my guy, I click Dragon Pulse, he decides to sack the Rumorigus. Makes sense, it's not really outspeeding anything on my team anymore. I never was, but it's not really doing much versus me. So I decided to just Dragon Pulse and then Dark Pulse, knock it out. And now the Beedrill is back. So I go into my Crobat, still tanking hits from this thing. Poison Jab only doing 38 that time, and decides to U-turn there and goes into the Superior as I Roost. Again, I want to keep myself healthy for that Beedrill, and again, I don't want to get glared here, but I do outspeed, so I decided to just U-turn. I probably could have Brave Birded there pretty safely, but I wanted to keep my Crobat healthy. So he goes for the glare again there, but my Frostlass is already poisoned, and basically Frostlass there, I was like, let me just go Frostlass, because Frostlass isn't really doing much the rest of this game. Imagine if I had Ice Shard again on this thing, but no. He decides to double there, maybe predicting the Ice Shard into the Beedrill. And I could have imagine if I had Will-O-Wisp or something, but no. So I get a Spike Up and disable his knockoff with my Cursed Body as he knocks me out. For some reason, the Spike isn't there. Is that just me? It is there. See, he just took damage. As I get a First Impression off on the Dracovish, doing a lot of damage. So right now I'm in a pretty good spot. My Crobat is looking really good. I can actually knock out the Superior, knock out this thing, and tank hits from the Beedrill. So Crobat's looking really good. I think Blaziken's also looking really good. I can probably tank a hit from the Beedrill. I should outspeed the Superior and the Dracovish with my Scarf. So as he actually goes for the Fish's Rend there, it doesn't quite knock me out. I live on 1% and I get the Leech Life off. So should have gone for the Fish's Rend over Body Slam earlier. It would have guaranteed me to be knocked out here. And also I get to reveal the Sucker Punch here to get a bunch of damage off on this Beedrill, which is pretty cool. So I decide here, I got a few different options. Hydreigon's not looking very useful, obviously his 2 remaining Pokemon outspeed, but I do have Crobat and Blaziken who are going to be kind of my win conditions here. I bring in Crobat, and his Superior is at 13%, and with my Spike Up, I know it's not there for some reason, but it is up. I was like, okay, he could potentially live a Spike Switch in at 13%. So I decided to go for the U-turn here. I was like, okay, this thing's not going to knock me out. So I go for the U-turn here. It almost knocks him out. And for a second there, I was like, oh no, did I just lose? Because I think I might have been in range of a Poison Jab, but I don't think I was. So I'm pretty sure I was in a good position there. Poison Jab should not knock me out. I think it was doing like 40% before, so yeah, doing good. Even with that big hit there, Crobat's still able to take on the Beedrill and outspeed and knock out the Superior. But I decided to just go into my Blaziken, which is Scarf, and in my head I was like, maybe, you know what, maybe he's not max speed Beedrill because he probably doesn't need to be versus my team, because the fastest thing I have is Crobat, and he doesn't need to be max speed to be able to outspeed a max speed Crobat. And I turned out to be right, as I just go for the knockoff to knock out to outspeed with my Scarf and knock out the Beedrill, and then the Spike knocks out the Superior. So cool stuff. Get a victory there with my team, the Boston Buizels. Things are looking up, and now this coming week, or actually the time that I'm recording this, I actually have a bye week, but I don't think it's going to interrupt any uploads. So because by the time this one is up, my bye week will basically be over, and a week from the time that you're watching this, I will have had my next battle, and that'll be up. So there won't be any gap for you guys watching. So that's cool for you guys. I get a little break, and you guys don't get to really miss out on any content. So next week should be another one. I haven't really looked into it because it's been my bye week and I've been relaxing. But yeah, if you're excited to watch more Vitality Draft League content and see more with this team, don't forget to leave a like. And if I should bring Luxray next week, leave a comment. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Keep dreaming. Goodbye.